Okay, so in order to understand terminology that we're going to be talking about in this class, it's really important that we look back to see where it came from. It's also important to understand what animation is by looking at where it started and how it got to where we are today. And you're gonna be surprised to find out that while the technology and how we animate has changed drastically, the process hasn't changed at all. And it's really interesting. So this is going to be a very short history of animation. You all have access to this PowerPoint in Blackboard, so that when you finish watching this lecture, you can go through the PowerPoint and click on all the links. I'm actually not going to do that here because I want to be able to focus in this lecture on the terminology. But definitely go back in and click on all the links or copy and paste them and watch the animations that go along with each one of these slides. Okay, so these are the brothers Quay. They're identical twins. They are masters of very surreal, abstract, stop motion animation. And we'll talk about them when we get to that point. And there are 13 slides here, so this is going to be very short. So the first animation that was produced was a disc. I'm sorry, it's my cat announcing that she has caught a toy bird. Sorry about that. Okay, so what it is it was a disc with pictures. And you see there's a hole in the middle of the disc, and that goes on a stick or some other device, and then it spins, right? You spin it. And what will happen is you only really look in one place to watch the animation happen, okay? And so in 1872, this idea, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, phenakistoscope. It's Greek. It's a Greek word, I think. And it basically is the illusion of movement. And what you all are probably more familiar with is a flip book. And this works just like a flip book. As you spin the dot disc or you flip the pages, the series of images advance. And it creates this illusion in our brain that things are moving, because what happens is our brain fills in. So from this image of the wolf running to this one, right? Or is that a horse? I'm really not sure. I always thought it was a wolf. It might be a horse. So you see, as each one changes, your brain is going to fill in the gaps between each step. And that really is one of the main keys to animation, is that we're filling in or providing just a gradual enough change from one frame to the next so that our brain fills in the gaps, and it thinks that it sees something that's moving, and all it is an illusion. Nothing is actually moving in the picture. It's only moving in the dial or in the flip book. So Winsor McCay produced a cartoon called Gertie the Train Dinosaur out of 10,000 drawings. And if you click on that link, you can see it's cute. He drew all these by hand. And you will see in this very primitive animation a lot of the things that it worked, but it also was very rough, and there were things that needed to be worked out. And so what started to happen is, as we move forward in animation, those problems started to get fixed. In 1920, Felix the Cat came out, and what used to happen was that people would go to the movies, and instead of commercials, they watched cartoons, or newsreels. And the cartoons became very, very popular, and that they eventually became part of our television culture, and then they eventually became the full-fledged feature films themselves. So animation has gone from something that was very short because of how hard it used to be to create. And I know this from experience because I was I was in grade school, I think 5th grade, when I made my first animation. And we did it with a film camera on a reel. And you had to, and it was stop motion in the sense that you're moving things in front of the camera and then exposing each frame. And it was hard. It was very difficult. In 1928, Steamboat Willie was the first animation that had sound. It made Mickey Mouse an international star and launched Disney Studios, right? So Disney was one of the main players in getting animation going. Then the Looney Tunes came along. They were kind of, ripped off of Disney's Silly Symphony series. But Looney Tunes became really popular, and they always preceded Warner Pictures feature films in the movie theater. And I'm one of the people who used to watch them. These were the Saturday morning cartoons. When I was a kid, that's the only time you see cartoons was on Saturday morning. And so we would get up, we were all excited, we could see cartoons. Now you can watch them anytime you want. Snow White in 1937. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first full-length feature production that was animated. So this is the first animated movie. And it's beautiful. So what happens is every single frame in the movie was drawn by hand. It's really impressive. And so what we have are the senior animators create the keyframes. And you're going to hear me use that term again, keyframes. Keyframe are the main frames, and we're going to work with those in this course. And then the junior animators would fill in between the keyframes, which are known as tweening. So we're also going to use that term, tweening, in what we're doing. And it's still applicable today. It's just we're going to do it with a computer, and they did everything by hand. So one of the great things that Walt Disney brought to the table was the invention of the multiplane camera. And you can see a diagram of it over here on the right. He fixed the camera on a table. Because as you can, at this point, as you'll go through these, you'll see one of the problems is the shakiness of animations is due to the fact that someone was holding the camera, right? And, we all shake a little, holding the camera and trying to, take pictures. And so without this setup, the animations are very wobbly and shaky. And also what happened is with this, you can see where they clip the drawings to the board and shine a light on it so it's well exposed. It also allowed them to reuse backgrounds so that it made it faster to create a movie. Because I don't know how many of you guys know this, but it would take them years to be able to produce an animated film. And that's why when a lot of the animated films that come out, their sequels, you don't see them for 3 to 5 years later. It's still the case today. It still takes 3, 5, depending on the feature, even 10 years to produce an animated film. Because of how much work is involved in it. And you all will get to see as we start getting into the software, how time intensive it is to be able to create a animation. Oops, I don't have my storyboard there. All right, so Disney also created the storyboard. Now, a lot of students either love storyboards or they hate storyboards, but you have to do storyboards. It's a required part of working on an animation team. Either you will do them or someone else will do them. And what they do is they give everyone direction for how you're going to work on the animation, because animation is still film, right? There's no difference between animation and film in the big picture. We just create our characters digitally, as opposed to actors that are in film. And often, we have actors that voice our animations. But nonetheless, it still follows the exact same process as the film industry. And storyboards are also part of the film industry. So the storyboards allow you to dictate and determine the direction of the animation so that everyone working on the the animation is working in the same direction on the same thing. You know, people aren't working on a team doing all their own things. Everyone's going to have the storyboards and be following them to create this comprehensive final animation that's a collective of work. So after we're doing, you know, everything was drawn by hand, it was all two-dimensional, and then along came stop motion animation. And it is basically used to animate things that are small scale. And so one of the really cool things that eventually happened with stop motion animation was that it combined footage that was shot with film with some stop motion animation, and it really did some interesting things. The link here is to one of the first stop motion feature films, which was King Kong. I think I might have another slide on that. Nope. Okay, this is it. Okay, so this was King Kong, and it combined stop motion animation with live footage of filmed actors, and it was really all the rage at the time. It was cutting edge. We look at old stuff and we kind of, wow, that's so bad compared to what we have now. But at the time, this was really cutting edge because this now allowed us to start to move in the direction of CGI. This is the father or mother, you know, of CGI, and this is where it started. And you know, now we know where it is now. It's amazing. And then claymation. Claymation, pretty much we use clay to make figures move, talk, dance, sing, just whatever you can think of. And the link there is to Wallace and Gromit or Gumby. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I tried to include the picture to what it goes to. A lot of you all watched Wallace and Gromit growing up. I had Gumby, and it is essentially where you set up the video film camera with a reel of film, right? And it feeds the reel of film in to the camera, and it advances the film so that you take a picture, you move your characters, you take another picture, and it's very slow, tedious process. But it's still with us today. People still love claymation. Claymation is still very much a part of what we do. It's not much different than what we're going to be doing in these courses on 3D animation, in terms of we're going to be modeling electronic clay, I put air quotes around clay, so to speak, and moving it. Not physically, but digitally. So it's kind of a very, very similar process. So I encourage you all to watch as much claymation as you can. I know I'm mean making you watch animations as an assignment, but you should watch other people's work for inspiration. Obviously, you don't want to copy it, because you don't want people copying your work and taking credit for it. But Tim Burton, right? He does a lot of claymation. He's got a lot of really great current stuff out there you might want to watch. He was influenced by the Brothers Quay, and other abstract surrealist claymation artists. And watch as much as you can. See what they do. Learn from them. Actually, I thought we were going to talk about the Brothers Quay, but I guess we're not. Okay, so here's where they fit in. I am a huge fan of theirs. I have a whole video library of theirs. They fit in here too. They did claymation, but they did it for adults. And it's very surreal, and it uses an immense amount of symbolism. So one of the things I really want to encourage you all to do is brush up on your symbolism. Film and animation use a lot of symbols to represent things, and it's part of what makes animation so interesting. Okay, and then that brings us to where we are today. Computer animation is a lot closer to any other techniques than the hand-drawn animation, right? It's most often compared to stop-motion animation like I just did. And this is what we're going to be learning in these courses. And of course, you all are familiar with the Toy Story, Pixar, and they did the first full-length feature computer-generated 3D animation. And, it's just only gotten better from there. I mean, you can already see the quality. Wait till you see the quality of what y'all are going to do in this class is going to surpass what's over here. Okay, I'm out of time, so I'm going to have to end it here, and we will continue in the next video.